Miso caramel is kinda like salted caramel, but taken to the next level. The salty funk of miso balances sweet caramel, adding depth and complexity. Pair that with a toasty oat crumble base and dark chocolate, and you've got yourself a super chewy slice of perfection. Hey there, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sheldon, but my friends call me Sheldo, so why don't you do the same? Baking is my favorite form of escapism, so let's shed the stress of everyday life and find comfort in creating something delicious together. Today we're making these extra chewy, sweet and savory miso caramel bars. They're so simple, yet so satisfying. The miso adds the perfect salty umami to the caramel, making it the perfect balance of sweet and salty that is utterly irresistible. People won't be able to tell that it's miso in there, they'll just know that they want another piece of this bar. This is a great, quick, no mixer recipe, so let's jump right in. First off, the caramel. To a medium-sized pot, add 200 grams or 1 cup of sugar, 60 grams or a quarter cup of water, and 85 grams or a quarter cup of corn syrup. If you don't have corn syrup, substitute with an equal amount of honey, agave, brown rice syrup, or golden syrup. Give everything a stir just until all of the sugar is moistened. Place on the stove over medium heat. Cover the pot with a lid and set a timer for 5 minutes. We're gonna let the sugar come to a boil with the lid on. This traps evaporating water, condensing the moisture on the lid, which then washes down the sides of the pot and rinses off any sugar crystals clinging to the walls of the pot. If not washed away, these crystals can be reintroduced into the caramel, causing crystallization. After 5 minutes, take off the lid and let the sugar continue to boil. Don't stir, but every so often swirl the pan so that the syrup cooks evenly. Soon the sugar will start turning color. Keep cooking and swirling until it reaches a golden amber. Once the sugar is fully golden, add in 56 grams or 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Swirl that around until melted and cook for 1 more minute until you can start smelling nutty brown butter. Then go in with 150 grams or just over a half cup of cream. Careful, this will make the caramel sputter and rise up in the pot. Stir until the bubbling subsides and then boil for another minute. Turn off the heat. Add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then go in with 60 grams or 3 tablespoons of miso paste. You can use either white miso here or red miso. White miso has a milder flavor, whereas red miso has a deeper, funkier taste. Both are equally delicious and will work just as well. The spatula wasn't doing a great job here, so I switched over to a whisk. I'm whisking vigorously until the miso is fully melted and combined into the caramel. Finally, add 1 tablespoon of flour and whisk until fully combined. The flour will help the caramel set up later when we bake the bar. Set the caramel aside for now while we work on the Oat-y crumble. Preheat your oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius. Line a 9-inch by 9-inch metal baking pan with foil. Don't even think about skimping out here. Double line with foil so that every inch of the pan is covered. Then brush everything lightly with oil. The caramel really loves to stick, so lining well is super important. Otherwise, you may not be able to get the bar out of the container. To a large mixing bowl, add 175 grams or 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 160 grams or 1 1/4 cup of rolled oats, 150 grams or 3/4 cup of brown sugar, either dark or light, half teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of fine sea salt or table salt. Give everything a good stir to combine evenly. My brown sugar wasn't really cooperating, so I started using my hands to break up all of the clumps. Add in 170 grams or 3/4 cups of unsalted butter that's been melted in the microwave. Stir together until everything is moistened and there's no more dry flour left in the bowl. This oat mixture will form both the base of the bar as well as the crumble on top. Take a bit more than half of the mixture and press it evenly into the bottom of the pan. This will be the base of our bar. Make sure that there aren't any super thin patches. If there are, you can take a little bit more from the other half of the oat mixture and patch up these spots. To ensure that the base is nice and crisp, we don't want any soggy bottoms here. We're gonna give it a head start by baking it in the oven for 10 minutes. After that time, pull it out and it should be slightly puffed up and just starting to set around the edges. Directly on top of the base, scatter 170 grams or 1 cup of chocolate chips. Whatever kind you prefer, dark, semi-sweet, or milk. Because the base is hot from the oven, the chocolate will start melting a bit. That's to be expected. On top of the chocolate, drizzle over all of the miso caramel. Use a spatula to spread the caramel evenly all over the surface, right into the edges of the pan. Finally, crumble over the remaining half of the oat mixture. Place the pan back into the oven and bake for around 20 minutes until the top is lightly golden all over and the caramel bubbling up around the edges. Okay, we've reached the most difficult part of the recipe. We have to wait until the bar is fully cooled all the way through before slicing in. This will take at least 4 hours at room temperature or 2 hours minimum in the fridge. If we try to cut in before it's fully cooled, the caramel will just run out all over the place and everything will be a gooey mess. Still delicious, mind you, but a mess. So be patient and let everything cool down. I like to make this the night before and let it sit overnight at room temperature to fully firm up. After enduring the long wait, use the foil as a sling to pull the bar out of the container. Carefully peel the foil away from the sides. This can be tricky because the caramel will stick and the foil will want to tear, but work slowly and it should come away eventually. Here's a little secret, but you have to promise to keep this between us, okay? The best part of this bar are the edges. The caramel cooks against the metal sides of the pan, turning dark, intense, and extra chewy. I'm a sucker for these edges, so I sometimes will trim off 1 or 2 sides and enjoy it for myself as a cook's treat. I promise no one will notice once the bar is all cut up. Call me selfish, but hey, at least I leave the other 2 sides for everyone else, right? Cut the bar 4x4 into 16 squares. Use a sharp knife and wipe off between cuts if necessary. My bar was fully cooled and the caramel wasn't sticky anymore, so I didn't have to do so. Now enjoy these miso caramel bars. The crumble itself is nutty, full of toasty oats and brown sugar, layered with nice bittersweet chocolate. Then that caramel, oh my goodness, that caramel. Chewy with a toothsome pull, rich, sweet, lightly salty, deeply umami. Just the right level of savoriness to make it the kind of sweet and salty that's difficult to stop eating. Make these bars, okay? Just do it. I think that most things I bake are pretty delicious, but these bars are truly like on a whole nother level. They're so simple, yet so wholesome at the same time. And once you taste that miso caramel, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, why haven't I been making this my whole life? What have I been doing? Seriously, you can thank me later. As always, you can find the full written recipe in the description below. If you do make these, please comment below and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining me on another week of Sheldo's Kitchen. I hope to see you again very soon. Bye. Sheldo out.